Hello, hello, hello. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever on the world. This is a VOS coming to from the United States and England. Mina Mohammed Shilon at the US. In England is my co-host, Mr. Victor Mengot, coming to you from Surrey, England. And so today is March 15, 2026. So we're happy for reaching again today. We hope we will be happy for hearing from we, and hope we will be able to present a lively, interesting, captivating discussion who could be of beneficial use to everyone. It doesn't matter if you are pro or against government, be it current, in the past, APC, SFPP, will try to do the best for them, will try to come to as objective as possible and to talk about what is in the best interest of a country. So it is not a science, but we try for just encourage more people to see things through the lens of objectivity or national objectivity, so to speak. So what's good for Sierra Leone? So of course, we all cannot see things the same way or analyze things the same way, but that's just the way things are. So, say VOS will get several platforms, sources from which, or platforms that would carry overseas. And so with that, we always can try for help on that, although most of our way, usually when I know which are the various numbers then. But let me start off with the telephone number. VS network telephone number, the main number they use, or the only number they use now, or the WhatsApp number, which is +1 343 997 5828. +1 343 997 5828. So I might as well add the radio station to that also. So we also want to go able for reach we 91.9 FM in Freetown. But as I always can caution people, for reach we 99 FM, you always have to download the VOS app for be able to access the radio station, particularly from abroad or from overseas. So for be able to do that, and you get for either go to the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store, download the VOS app, and then you'll be able to reach 91.9 FM. 91.9 FM. Because there are other 91.9 FM stations then, particularly in North America, maybe in some other parts of the world. So in order not to create confusion or surprise or dismay, we just try for make una download the VOS app, and then you go to 91.9 FM if you want to get through the radio station. There are other platforms then where they carry or sources them through which you can able get we. You can able get we on YouTube, on Facebook, on X, when I formerly Twitter. Then if you go to VOS television, YouTube, Facebook, X, you will get we on VOS television. The radio too, you can able for listen to we on the radio without, if you go on www.vosradio.com, you will be able to reach we. So generally, VOS television, you will be able to reach we in almost every of the other things that included it if you download the app. We also are being carried on Twitch. So VOS television also will carry you will get we on Twitch if you try to catch we on Twitch. In addition to that, we also get a non-profit organization that we always bring up at the beginning of the show. We should be bringing it up at the end of the show, but sometimes we tend to overlook them. Now, the non-profit organization called, or referred to as Diaspora Helping Hands, the Diaspora Helping Hands. That you go to www.vosdiaspora.org, www.vosdiaspora.org. That now for scholarships for we young people in back home. We get the physical and mental ability to go to school and for complete school, but they don't get the financial ability because the parents cannot help them with much because the parents themselves don't earn anything, and then jobs are hard to come by where you can they go school and work for yourself. Because like a lot of us did here in the United States, a lot of there are thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of us who can we not to be the scholarship baby there. So we not be get scholarship. A lot of us worked and went to college. Some of us went to high school, but some of us we don't finish high school back home. We can we get job, we work full time, and we still be to go college for pay with fees. But that opportunity does not exist back home. Now, one instances that I know of in which people back home were in high school and had a fairly decent job, but that is so far in between. But it indeed, during my time, it even happened. There were 2-3 guys that will be to go high school, will be working at some Syrian shops after school and do some other things then. But that opportunity not there. So those people need help. So please, no amount of money is too small for contribute, and then for helping hand, we call them. So vosdiaspora.org, www.vosdiaspora.org. If you not go there, you're not going to reach me. Today topic, as usual, we can like for touch on trending issues in Sierra Leone. So we get so many things that have been going on where people can keep up with, but people can get a lot of important things for their daily lives than to just keep up with the news. You want for survive first, you want for eat. But there are a lot of things where they are brought, they hear instantly, even before we know where they are. We don't say overall, everybody know about the fuel crisis, the petrol. We will say fuel back home, people immediately interpret into fuel, petrol. But what we not really understand, that fuel crisis, they touch on other things. Because if fuel get extremely short, not only the price they go up significantly, well, government said will get difficulty for handle because of low wage earning capacity. Government self will be thrown off course. But then government will be able to adjust the numbers so much that people don't go be able to afford it, no matter how they try. Because of economy, we'll get a very weak economy. So, but everybody knows, say, because of the war, Israel and the United States and Iran, and there are a lot of things happening in the Middle East, particularly in the Gulf of Hormuz, where they go affect fuel prices. But when the fuel not necessarily limit to just petrol. They get everything else for do with things like fertilizer. So, and the fertilizer get a lot for do with agriculture. So, Yana safe prices will go up. Sometimes fertilizer don't go even be available because they're not going to be able to come through the main route of transportation. When they ship it in the past, the Strait of Hormuz. Now then a lot of them ship there the past where they're able to come for reach Europe and the United States. So that go affect we. And in economic theory, when there is scarcity, when things not better, when things not beaucoup anymore, when things are short, price will go up. The one that we're in business is a logical reaction because they're in business to make profit. So then go take advantage, not because they not get hurt, then get hurt, but then get for make a living and this and then your opportunity. That's the reality of life. Sometimes some people are misery and other people are happiness. So all of that, we'll get for touch on that today. Make we know about some of the trending things that we want to talk about. And among them trending things then back home, we'll talk about transportation crisis and the immediate change when they try for implement. We'll try for analyze them, for see how effective it's going to be and how efficient it can be carried out. Because to be effective is one thing, efficiency reigns the day. So if we're not able to carry out efficiently, it's not going to amount to much, despite the best of intentions. And we wish them all the success. Then we'll get within in the transportation business also, and they come up with this thing about what they call spot fines. That is where you commit a traffic offense. When the warden or the police or the traffic police then stop you, then forget the power for fine you and they get you for pay or instance or at least fine you. Well, there's a whole lot of problem with that from the law standpoint, from the legal standpoint, because it's a law that is illegal if it go into effect. Then no government agency forget that power there for stop you, fine you, and probably detain you. It will be grossly unconstitutional. So that's another issue we'll get for deal with. Then you get, of course, the Wakafine bosses, they would start themselves in a part of the oversight and the transportation related business. And we get other thing about the justice system in Sierra Leone. I think a lot of when I do hear about this Titi or this woman, not to Titi, we then keep in a jail because he thief, then accuse and say he thief food for each, not to go sell, and some soft drink. So then put in a jail, then detain in a jail for 11 months before, in case, go before a high court judge. And when the case go before the high court judge, when the judge realized, say, this woman had been detained for 11 months without trial, I think what did the judge do, which I think is wise, but that doesn't mean the judge himself is not, I'm not going to criticize, but the system is terrible. I think the judge in his wisdom probably do the best he could, but it just makes you wonder, how can you detain somebody for stealing food or for committing what you would call a low class? In fact, it barely rises to the level of a crime. Okay, I see then they tag this thing about that she broke into the place. It broke into the place. We'll deal with that. But that is so low level, even if you had breaking to the offense, that nobody's right or nobody should be deprived of a right of freedom. For 11 months, they await what trial? You see, so this go to the efficiency or inefficiency of legal representation in the country, and then prosecution of certain crimes in the country, and the flaws of the system, the legal system itself, because that's not supposed to happen. Okay, but it happened. And we don't try to pin the facts down, but we will see to what extent, no matter how you carry the facts, the reality is she spent 11 months in jail. The reality is that food and soft drink, the woman allegedly take, and then she lost 11 months of her freedom. Okay, so one talk about that. And last but not least, let me just apologize to Una. Last week we understand, say, there were people trying to call in on the show, but they're not be able to come through. So we only apologize that this was a technical glitch. We cannot really put a finger on what happened, but we are aware that it happened, and for that we say we're sorry. So with all of those said, let me just pass now over to me co-host, Mr. Victor Mengot. We go, I think we'll tell you now what sequence we'll go by with respect to all which I just mentioned. Say we'll talk about which one will be number 1, number 2, number 3, and so on. So to you, Mr. Mengot.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Chilon. And family them, we don't come back today and we want to talk about trending topics. And today we go start, we get two parts what we do. The first part now a continuation of what we've been talking about last week. When at this issue of fuel price, where once the increase come up, people can expect say fears them for go up, especially the operators them. And then can say therefore increase fears in accordance with the percentage increase of fuel. But when they talk about fuel, not a one type. Because in transport, some public transport, like them big bus, now diesel and they use. Diesel now is 35 new leons per liter, where all leons are 35,000. Petrol na 32 new leons per liter, where all leons na 35,000. We see the press release where come out from the Petroleum Regulatory Agency through the Ministry of Trade as well as Ministry of Information. They say this price will don't come up where the government don't authorize. It go all water for only 2 weeks. Because we know say this crisis na Iran, it just started and nobody know who's them if or stop or we don't know how much reserve petrol the government gets of fuel. Because normally we can get like 3 months fuel reserve. So if every time we fuel go up, increase they come up on road passenger transport, how much they charge? How do we solve this problem? I don't go start first. What in the law say? And who are responsible for that? Then we go talk about the cost of transport operation and how they operate. Not just the fuel, the driver themselves, they express concern. We go show one video where the driver they talk, waiting the money then. And then we go see how we can solve that problem there. Then of course, when we talk about traffic law enforcement, two things them, we know say the government, through the police, they say they enforce two things, helmet law, which means a motorcycle rider and passenger for wearing helmets. They'll get strict enforcement. People and they will express concern about that. Then also with seatbelt. But the announcement they make, they only talk about seatbelt where you didn't have front seat. We not talk about seatbelt in public transport. Just because of the quality of seatbelt. Or go look at this law enforcement. What did the law say? Because then thing and they will then charge you the offense and then as spot fines. And what did the law say about spot fines? Because Bopu people they don't complain about that. Part 2 we go talk about justice and things for do with law. Waiting at the law we'll get now. We'll get case study. We'll get one when at this Kadia to Kamara, we'll get 2 different versions of what happened. When my colleague been on talk at introductory. But let's start with public transport first. Let's start with the fares. Waiting the happen for transport fare, we will see the last time when the fare moved to 28.5 new loans, where all loans now 28,500. Then we ask for increase in fares. And remember, say, WakaFine self, we increase the fare where Parliament been get for call them. Because they increase the fare from 8 loans, when 8,000 old loans, to 12 loans. So Parliament call them, they reduce them to 11 loans, but when they set fares again, we know they know how then they set them, not so magic. So let's come back for explain to Fambul them how then they set fares currently and who are responsible and some of the flaws them. Now, I always come back by history. For a long time, the Sierra Leone Road Transport Corporation, working with the Ministry of Transport, now they set fares. That system they stopped in 2023 when the government established the Sierra Leone Public Transport Authority. And when they established the Sierra Leone Public Transport Authority, Road Transport Corporation ceased to exist. So that responsibility for set fares is passed on to this Public Transport Authority. And then for them in consultation with the transport operators them. But other than the transport operators them and other stakeholders, we dey talk about Poda and bus owners, we dey talk about Keke Union, we dey talk about Okada, we dey talk about the people that when they run taxi, we don't and then they under the motor drivers union because motor drivers then cover all forms of public transport. Because then they cover taxi, then they cover Poda, then they cover big buses. And they will get an organization where they call Powell, when a passenger welfare. So what's in the law say? The Salone Public Transport Authority Act, Section 16, subsection 2, say the minister now responsible for transport go make regulation on the recommendation of the Salone Public Transport Authority. So the Salone Public Transport Authority now the technical body. Now then they recommend to the minister, then the minister announce the fares. This regulation they apply to all forms of public transport, from buses to mini buses. When I then Poda, who they talk about mini buses, we they talk about up to 15 seats, taxi, tricycle, when a keke, motorbike, and then big bus the way they go up line. So we for expect fares increase. But if they increase them by the 12%, then they will feel not increase so, then they will cause problem. But before we go further, we want to play one video from one of the key stakeholders when at the Motor Drivers Union. We don't express concern, low analyze what they say, because it deal with two of the issues what they talk about now this first part of the transport issues when affairs either affect them and also them police where they embark in a road and also the nature of the road system and infrastructure where all that they affect the costs because they increase maintenance costs. It also they make sure say they're not able to run frequently on in time and then they lost money. So if the control room can play Dandy, then
the king, the empire.
Yes, I. It's your boy Atakula.
Assalamu alaikum. Alaikum assalam. Alhamdulillah, we don't enter the month of Ramadan. Attention, please, drivers. Yes, sir. Today, the driver will talk to Napakia. Yes, sir. Today, the driver will talk to Napakia. I've been talk this year. The last time say, we the drivers them now for add value at the business here. This transport business so they do. We the driver now for add value there. Because that trader, when they come them bundle there, and they will add value per way. That trader where they see so, they get 2, 3, 4, 5 of direct here. We the driver the land self will not get. I don't think they cost anything about that. About that side constantly. So because of that, tomorrow, we are all the see, we are all the heavy, we are so fear the go. Selling a fire bullets from 25,000 to 28,500. From 28,500 to 32,000. So from 32,000, we don't know how to go. Okay, don't let that side now. Don't come on that side for petrol. Who are the passengers that said they be a witness? Now they see already embarrassed with drivers. That's it. Police they only left and right. Say the back driver. They take us this filial that are the boy business. Or we transport business also are the boy business. My job. So because of that, tomorrow, next tomorrow, Wednesday, we only go to President and Salone, we go complain. Not to come here no more the do. That the one old country. That the one old country. Man they already carry out. Driver see already carry out. We never state for kind of Salone. Driver see on there. When they in September, then the next day for Kawatalo. Driver see on there when they come on. Then the next day for Kawatalo. Driver see on there Makeni. Then the next day for Kawatalo. You want already Potloko. You want already Karine. You want already Lumio. You want already Ya. You want already Custom. You want already Tonko. You want already Mambolo. You want already Mambo Luma. We all the left for go to president. For go complain. Because the president now we first gentleman in terms of diversity on the country. And they talk to some man in this country, they value and they respect her. So we the federal president now. We the federal president now. So there tomorrow, today we the beggar. Tomorrow I go for beg me. For Gambia and 18 minutes after the checkpoint. Any commercial motor will be broken with screen. We don't want motor because motor there now. We want broken with screen, we broke the water before, broke the water again. You gotta go before. You go back. Now 2, 3 weeks where they pack like us, if you value what they say, we don't go greet president, I do. We don't strike out, but we go greet to president. We just first one thing we want to discuss with her for 3 days. We go at Salone, we go discuss with the president. And the embarrass we at it. Passenger and the cost we can understand. Then I went in the waka. But police are the back driver at it. Police are the back driver, they put on a scary. If they beg and I say that it's man. Waiting for license, we'll scan it for now. We are for license now. So we will go tomorrow. The unbound of the country say, who are calling at this transport sector, value. Yes, sir. If for value, you will driver, and for value in this country. Let us say that Kenya and let me message. The message, the contract costs are one whole country. So we are the party now, we outside. Let the president go say, who are playing a Kenya with the feds for one. Because for let somebody talk to person, say, but we are the president for this place. Let us tell them, let them go to the tax driver there in Machaka. There you are. And the old driver, they charge you 1.5, 1.7, 2 million per taxi. How we go survive now? So because of that, we will go complain to the president tomorrow. We will believe himself. Let put him on sky, load passenger go. Here now, pass the by with the screen. I order glass there. And at 3 days old, we will go today, tomorrow, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, as well as Wednesday. We don't have a salon, we will go complain to the president. So when I say, oh, the president, you don't know, but I want to drive along in this country. We all We will get out, we go to Salone to president. I don't know what 3 days. We go complain to her. No one's happening with Kapula no more. What is no more?
Okay, family them. I should say in another probably the background noise in a not get a gist of waiting this man been the talk about. But I will not make contact with them. This now one of the motor park them na Lumley, where the driver and the complaint say now fear long go up. When fear long go up, normally price for transport can increase. Now government can announce, the Ministry of Transport can call all the people that have been not named, then go sit down together, then decide almost percentage increase, then give the driver using on them and the operator them almost there for charge. But that way they wait and they set fare, as I always say, transparent. And one of the things, when there is a delay, the drivers them, beaucoup drivers and they say qu'ils increase the price, then they wait self le government announce. And then they cause confusion between them and the passenger them. So this institution, when a public transport authority be not the consult, and they want come up with a way for stop this confusion, where Agwan will analyze for let people know. And I want to let coming for let in a tell we. Now look at fears now. I take one route as an example for me research what I do. Most people they're not able to get us inside Freetown. You get high demand area. So the workers them what I will call saying that the people them where some essential workers, even some civil servants them, including teachers them. Now the outskirts, then they the Fenus. Like Lumley, you get place there after Lumley where they call Kuntolo, Kamayama, and all them places then they. So even if you want to take the WakaFine bus themselves, you get for take transport from then Kamayama, Kana, Lumley. Then Lumley bus station now, you can't take WakaFine for Canton. Now look at Waterloo area, when are there beaucoup people in there. I ask the passenger welfare, I say, waiting at the fare for Komo Waterloo, inside Freetown. Now 15 new Leons, one way. So if somebody de Waterloo, if they can't walk na Freetown, we talk about what talk Freetown, Central Freetown, when at the CBD, which something at the most working in there, waiting at the Central Business District area. We talk from Upgun Turntable to reach St. John. Because you get beaucoup place then within that Freetown day. So you want kind of bank, even the hospital self, Connaught Hospital and that Central Freetown day. You want can get your identity card na that same Central Freetown area there. The big of the markets there and shops them na day and day from there Sani Abacha streets. You take around Wilberforce Street. So if you take and say you dey come regularly, they commute, it cost you 30 leons or 30,000 every day. So for 5 days, then 150,000. Yeah? So 30 times 5. Now 150,000. For 2 weeks, now 300,000. So for a month, now 600,000. Government said and they put minimum wage to 1.2 million or 1,200 new leons. So if your transport costs now 50% of your wage. How people level survive. So this is not the challenge. So let's stop here. Let's see if my colleague want put anything inside. Then let's talk about the new way where the authorities say they want to look at fears. And some of the way they go make this possible for they go know how for make fears we go adjustable and suit the interests and pockets of the people them. Over to you, sir. You are muted. I don't hear you.
Like I can always say, it is good for copy because that's the real reflection of life. Now, when you see something that happen elsewhere or with your other person, if it look good, you go and copy them if you not get standard better than that. But me always say Sierra Leone, the problem is we want for copy, but we not study waiting with the copy so we implement them effectively or efficiently. To make a distinction between effective and efficiency for a reason. Because effectiveness sometimes could do with just the sheer power of putting something into operation, good or bad. You know, that's being effective because people are following what you say, even if it's, help them. Efficiently, in a way, it involves fairness, speed, problem solving. Now, to me, Mr. Mengot mentioned something earlier, say the general rule with respect to fuel in our country has been that we're supposed to get 3 months supply where anything nationally go happen, we importation or we importing of fuel. So that being the case, I'm not saying, it's a good policy. Whether that policy is being followed or not is another thing. But the other problem with that, the policy is good in the sense that even if they stop for supply oil, the oil just shut down completely worldwide. We'll for be able to keep going with some gradually scaling down, or for about 3 months, for be a disaster in the country. So that's one forget what you can call strategic or national reserve. Well, whether that's the actual case, whether we get enough capacity for get 3 months supply in the event of an emergency, that's a different story. But it seems to me that we should be taking that into account. Now, I not go at money say, oh, the oil price not go, the effect not take place here, they not begin raise price now. Freetown or Sierra Leone, because we see it happening even in the United States, where gasoline price begin to go up, even before the war started. Okay, but that said, because of course we call that profiteering and all that kind of thing, there are laws against it. I don't know in what manner, what has to take place in this country for that to be put into effect, but then get what you call gouging laws or profiteering laws. But that we forget similar laws back home. Get a guideline when people then take undue advantage of the people them for by raising gasoline price. Then of course we forget a body of or a group or a committee we name for get the absolute authority for increased prices. We forget all of that. But the thing about policy, we can get all that in the book. If we know they implement them, it not they get any effect on the ordinary person. So like Mr. Mengo just give this example now. If you get to spend a significant part of your income using the minimum wage scale, most of the people who ride public transport are generally poor people. So if you get to use 30 to 50% of your money just for ride public transportation, how much is left for you to even live your normal life? You have to put food on the table. You have to keep roof over your head, So and you can tell say there is not enough. So when we make our own policy, we cannot just follow the economic theory as it is. We got to take into account we own people them and adjust we own policy them accordingly how it will affect with people. We can't say, oh, America, they begin raise price before even the war starts. So therefore, we say go do. Because the economy of America and the economic levels of people in America is far different and far superior. You know, so you don't get too many hand-to-mouth people in there. You don't get drag-minded. A lot of people in the work for a living. You know, they're going to affect some people, but not as to the extent that way they affect women people. So when they make policy, if we think about them people, the amount of soul will be affected. And you know, some of them people, they get children there. Let's forget this thing about whites, because whites work too. They go out there because the husbands are not bringing enough. But what about the children? You know, so the policy makers, them back home, these are some of the things then for the grapple with every time. That's if we just use them power. So, and then we also don't talk about the fact that fuel involve more than just gasoline. I mean, fuel shortage, they cause worldwide fuel shortage can cause it affects other factors then. So we need for understand all that in there. Otherwise, our economy can be brought to a halt because the way we implement policy, we just the falamakata and we just look for excuse, not for really make serious decision. We'll go be efficient and effective for a long run. So at this point, now that may want to talk about, there was something about there was something about the gentleman who will be to talk about, then they go to the transportation president for talk on their behalf. He said a few things were kind of contradictory. First, it threatened violence. Now, I'm never in favor of violence being mixed with protesting or a protest. He say then go break people and then will broke people in windshield if you're not supportive. Well, in most countries, that of itself is a crime, you know, communicating a threat. But it may not be a crime that is prosecutable only because it is made at the general public, so there is no specific instance in which someone was instigated for go break anybody in windshield. But that's the fact, the threat of breaking a windshield. No government for tolerate that. And I think if the police, they listen, if the people that were in charge, then for tell this president of this drivers group, for talk to them people here, that not only them for stop making such threat, but enough for engage in such threat, because that's lawlessness. Every time when I do that, the innocent people will suffer. So that is not a smart move. That's not something you're supposed to even talk about. And I don't think any government, even if we're not efficient or effective at all, we're not for tolerate threats, because this is how they give the government opportunity for unjustifiably and divert attention. So instead of the government dealing with the real problem, now the government, they go out there and we government them. Particularly this one, they've been kind of reckless, go out there and shooting people. Okay, so no instigate any violence because it is counterproductive and you're not going to help at all. So then, but this gentleman says something also which me they always talk about. The gentleman where they do this announcement, the driver here, about the way police then they arrest and harass people. Well, I speak about that all the time. That's an issue that need attention, because the police from top to bottom, they are more or less they are a law within themselves. They don't look like they get any guide where they go by and just do which they want. Like this boy use the word the police to buckle we, which means then they hold them by the trustees, drag them. No, there should be some disciplinary action taken against police officers who do that, because that's an assault. That's not arrest. They arrest somebody by holding what they call. There are procedures, there are steps you must take. And then if it is a traffic offense, it's warrant a handcuff or an arrest, a physical arrest. You can request, So all that we got to begin teach the police that and stop that. Arrest them poor guys here would go out there and hustling for make a living, And I always wonder how the drivers had and leave. Because if you get stopped 15 times a day, and you get to give every policeman will stop you something, because you get to meet a quota where the post will drive for, say, by 6 o'clock, if you bring the vehicle back, and you not bring me your money, before you keep your money, we got to think in terms of that. And the police, to me, they are out of control. And this goes back from way back, the Abamagai time, to be honest with you. The police cannot be left to be a law unto themselves. But this is the way it is in Sierra Leone. And I've been addressing that. Or when the police, they arrest you, they then get the power for give you bail. It shouldn't be. It shouldn't be at all. But this is all happening in Sierra Leone. And people know the address tension until it catches up with you. The police don't forget the right. If there's no legitimate complaint laid against someone for violating the law, police should not get the right on their own. For them say, oh, we want to talk to Mr. X, would invite you down to the police. The word invite, which I always disagree with, because then they order you. But on what basis? What gives them that power? But that has become an acceptable practice in Sierra Leone. Unless the legal profession, it's not enough to just be a lawyer, you wear that wig and that gown. I mean, it implies something. You have to be out there fighting for the rest of us, to the rest of society. So I just can't be going along with things then that are definitely unfair, oppressive, illegal. The police engages in illegal activities every day as their common practice. And the legal profession seems comfortable with it, And the so-called civil rights groups, human rights groups, don't seem to be as bothered as they should. So these are some of the comments, some observations they want me to talk about. You're not a driver, you're not for engaging violence, you're not for threatening violence. But likewise, police officers are not for to go and manhandle people just because they get the power. That is just not right. And that's what authorities are there for. And all them guys out in the girl position here, within the police force and the administration and the vice president who is supposed to be the head of the police force, what good is it if they don't even know what their functions are? So at the end of it all, I just want to see transportation goes with the law, and because without the law, transport cannot be efficiently implemented, or transportation cannot be efficiently implemented. Because of that, I rarely think we will look at things very seriously. And last but not least, please, lines are open, callers can call anytime. Back to you, Mr. Mingot.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Now, we'll get a look at this authority. One of the things where government don't give this authority the powers for set transport fares. And in fairness to them, they've been consulting. Then they come up with some formula where I think say they go able for look at some of them challenges they are. So then they're under consultation and waiting and say, then they talk about forget a base fare, the minimum charge for a first distance unit or zone travel. What that means is that just like you can forget a distance-based fare. But again, the problem is who gets, the challenge where they go get, the operating costs of the different vehicles that will they use, not so the same. Because the buses some of them they use diesel, and we don't see say diesel price is high past petrol. The cost of maintenance, the licensing fee, the insurance, all different. So this idea of setting uniform price actually fair to the operators them. So they never decide on that base fare day. We go take into consideration all the operating costs. And then they say, then go make the increments charge additional amounts applied per zone. So what you get for do, you need proper planning. Like some of them countries, you can get zone fares them. Where in one zone, let's say if you take Freetown, for instance, the western region, you can divide them into 3 areas. You get the eastern region of urban Freetown, where then they stop from Ogu Bridge, take up gun turntable, when a one zone, that goes to zone 1. Then within that zone there, you get a base fare for the zone, then you get defined stops them. We get them stop then they. We go determine waiting at the fare based on their aggregate fare, then based on the stop then. Like for instance, you come out Calabaton, Cam, Wellington, you know waiting at the fare, and you get different vehicles them according to the size of the vehicle, the categories them, because you get minibus, taxi, midi bus, and large bus. You have to work out all that and day. Then you get central zone, when at the CBD, you can get zonal fares, and then they more for apply to things like Keke and Okada, even taxi. Then you get western zone. So there are a lot of innovative way for look at these fares. So it's still work in progress. They already say now what they go do, rather for they get this fares increase anytime where petrol price go up and down. They want for they do annual review. So when they don't set the price, then they go take into consideration things like inflation, wage increase, and also over the years, the trend in fuel price rise. So there's still work to do. We look forward to this authority for come up with a formula and let them able to make sure say the fares are reasonable for people them and also it meets the operating cost of the operators them. But then we also get the school bus service system. Then school bus services, the government can provide a lot of bus system. But one of the things they do, they send a local government and for manage them bus and they. So the local authority themselves then get challenged. Over the years, we don't see say the bus they don't begin disappear. So there is more we will come up for more discussion where the government put up the fares. And so we get people them where we go interview about the effect of that fare increase and what the Wale government do. So now come now for we second part of this transport issue, when are these spot fines. What's in a spot fine? We see say the government don't announce it, or police don't announce it. Then they start for implement wearing of helmets. Then are for them Okada them. Then seat belts. Then are for taxi. But also for people that we get a private motorcar. Now, mostly when they try for enforcing traffic laws in there, now some of them think they carry spot fine, where they can charge you for pay on the spot. But as we didn't have, we all roll now for getting waiting the law say. And until they change that law, this could be challenged because we don't see other countries like in Africa where people and they challenge their spot fine here and out and they administer. So we get chance for play an example of place like Kenya where they charge, where somebody take the authority to court for spot fine. So what thing the law say about spot fine? It is under section 85 of the Road Traffic Act. And listen carefully. When it come, they say, and then they not change it, they say a police officer, and that's why they talk about law review. And why don't read and don't now make me compete when a lawyer man, let analyze all which they say. Take note, Mr. Salone. Section 85(1), it say a police officer of the rank of an inspector or above. Right? Take note of it. An inspector or above. Or an authorized person. That authorized person can be a traffic warden or traffic cop, may impose a spot fine in a person who commits an offense provided for the regulation made under this act. So when you know wear seatbelt, now an offense, they will give spot fine. When you know wear helmet, now an offense, they will give spot fine. But we don't see say boku other thing the way they can charge people the way they give them spot fine. We don't see case the way they charge people and say you the way half back for drive. So that's why we call for a review of this law. And what he is saying at the law, he said the offense is committed in the presence of a police officer or other authorized person. So spot fine will only be issued when you commit that offense. That means that there's you ko one. Like when you know wear seatbelt or you know wear helmet. Then it say the regulation made under this act, under this act, then go levy the fine on the spot. But that levy the fine on the spot, that's my colleague go comment on that. Then he also say if person pay in spot fine, you know they committed the offense. So not to offense for if you don't pay a spot fine, which means that person they're not going to bring any offense against you once you don't pay. But the law also say you the person, if you deny, you say you deny for pay that fine day, then the police or the traffic warden can take you to court. So now the spot fine say. And it say anybody will not comply, because at the time when they write the law, now been 250 leons, now they not increase some day when they not increase to 500 leons, new leons when are 500,000. So over to you, sir, on this spot fine thing. Because there's an argument, because some of the authorities they say when they say spot fine, you get for pay on the spot. Sometimes they where they can give people a spot fine, when they not pay, they can even go further and clamp the motorcar and not think say that they right. Sometimes they way they can even take their license. Then they, again, it's not within the law. So up to you, sir. How can we make sure say the law serve the purpose for which it was written, and also it becomes fair in administration to people then?
Thank you, Mr. Mengot. The way, to start with, I think the way the law is written is defective. I can see a whole lot of defects in that law there, because it don't look like it clearly define what constitutes, you use the word kuru one in terms of somebody where wear helmet, or somebody where not get seat belts. Okay, so then define that, or then the law imply that would be a justification for spot fine, because the officer or the official see you without a helmet or without having a seat belt on. Okay, now when the laws then they are being made, first of all, for past constitutional challenge or muster, the law has to be clearly written and define the offense in such a way as to leave no doubt that your rights are not being infringed upon. You not want to try for just get traffic situation solved to the extent that you trample over people their rights for challenge. Now, this law say the spot fine. Let's start with the spot fine. Spot fine. The way they write on the law, unless there are some sort of subsections, we clearly define how to go about it. But a fine is a fine. So, but does spot fine mean payment at the spot where you're fined? Because you can get two interpretation. You can be fined on the spot and pay later. Or you can be fined at the spot and you are required to pay then to pay instantly, or else your vehicle will be disabled. So it doesn't seem like it's very clear in the law what stop fine means. Does stop fine mean just forgive you a piece of paper saying you've been fined for being in violation of certain sections or of the statute or of the ordinance? Or does it mean when you are fined at that moment, you're supposed to produce or make the payment? I would doubt very seriously if they want you for pay that money there at the point. But again, it doesn't seem like it's clear, because this is not government money. It will be regulated in such a way that it should be taken to some particular government office for the money to be paid. You can't just pay
Okay, sir.
police. Yes, sir.
Let me just clarify that for you, because what I read to you now, the Road Traffic Act 2007, and there is a supplementary to that act when the Road Traffic Regulation 2011, because then they come after, because the regulation can actually clarify, and at the end they will police officer them and traffic warden know they do. Because under that section 111, it talk about a spot fine ticket. It even give the form where it for day. You get a specimen form when a form 22, right? But what it say, subsection 2, it say where a spot fine ticket is issued by a police officer or other authorized officer for an offense committed under the act. This regulation, the fine shall be paid by the offender to the nearest office of the authority within 72 hours. So that is what it says.
Okay.
So if I pay the fine within 72 hours, now that option there, they're not a give people them. And also, as you make a law, you for make provision for people that for contest the fine.
There you go.
And if you want contest the fine, then you can go to court. Then the burden of proof go now there with the person where they issue that ticket there. So that is where the law is not providing for the rights of citizens. Because the regulations say if you pay within 72 hours. The police and the traffic warden, they insist say if you pay on the spot. They even get a video. So if control room can play that video there, where they talk about even electronic payment, I want let you listen and you self. Let family know say what to the talk. We not just the talk out of for bash the authorities and but now waiting and they do. And we they try for talk in the interest of people. Control room, if you can play that video there for we, when the SLRI say they introduce electronic payment, let us view as and see them. Control room, are you there? Can you hear us? Okay. Whilst they come on, you can continue for discuss this until Santo go play the video, because we always like forget evidence now.
Okay, Mr. Mengot, you just said something just a few minutes ago where I want to touch on. So I go. Let me get back to you on that. First of all, if you can read the law again, to pay to the nearest, read that section again. If when you are issued
Okay.
the fine
Okay.
on a piece,
Then they under section 111 subsection 2. I will read
yeah,
them in English, right?
yeah,
I will read them verbatim as a day.
yeah,
It says where a spot fine ticket is issued by a police officer or other authorized officer. In this case, authorized officer will mean a traffic cops for an offense committed under the act. And that offense they include things like, because we get offense we deal with seatbelt, we get offense we deal with helmet. The fine shall be paid by the offender to the nearest office of the authority, which is the SLPT, the Salone Road Safety Authority, within 72 hours. That is what the regulations say.
okay. Now, let's look at the practicality of such a law. Now, first and foremost, even the police officers themselves don't seem to agree as to what spot fine means. Or they want to open implement the law, not seem to agree on the interpretation of it in the sense that does it mean, again, like I raised earlier, that the implication is that you have to pay it within 72 hours. Now, that is slight clarification, but there is still a misnomer in the sense that they say spot fine, and like I say, I draw up the distinction between fine and payment. Now, let's question: is 72 hours to pay a fine? Let's forget the procedure. A reasonable amount of time for violation of such of any offense which could cause the ordinary citizen for expend whatever amount the fine is 72 hours sufficient? And so you can question the law on its reasonableness alone. And you can argue. So there are many reasons why to take a case to court. You can argue the unreasonableness of the law in terms of the fines and when to pay it. They're not sufficient, give sufficient amount of time. Now, because I will argue, one should be given at least 30 days. You can pay an hourly, but it takes time for people, because in civilized countries or advanced countries, that's what happens. They give you time, like we over here, and they give you up to 40 days. Even when you want a court, you challenge a case, the judge finds you guilty, and then it can give you up to 40 days for pay that court cost and fine, because they know say money is just not sitting down there for everybody for pay. Because it will create, then you will argue that it will create undue burden on the citizenry, in the sense that if you have, first of all, when the officer stop you and fine you, that wasn't part of your budget that day. And again, the other problem with that, what if you're stopped 3 times in one day by an officer for being in violation? So you should be required to pay within 72 hours, 72 hours, whatever the fine says you have to. And so we therefore put some thought process into it. Then they say you for paid at the transportation related office with the nearest. So then put down okay, it's not an unreasonable discussion, then save you the trip instead of going downtown for go pay. But then also for putting that law there for say how you can contest the issuance. That law therefore require how you contest the issuance of such a fine or a ticket in case you are dissatisfied with the issuance of it. Therefore tell you you're right. Because now you look at the way the law is written and give you that fine day, you don't get no way for contestant, even if you disagree with the officer. For example, seat belts can be very tricky. One is driving a car. The officer.
Let I respond to that. That is the primary law. Because under Section 85 of the Road Traffic Act 2007, subsection 3, when I know that happen, it says where a person denies the commission of an offense or fails to pay the spot fine, the case shall be processed for court. So there's provision.
Okay. So how do you go about that? So it's when the ticket issues, go ahead.
That is what they don't give people the option for exercise that particular right.
Exactly.
For challenge, they don't give you the option. Because we don't get cases of people and they say, if you not pay, sometimes and then they can even clamp you motoka.
Which means that
a lot of people them, which again, you get for pay for letting them clamp and so na double jeopardy. You're charging the man twice. Sometimes and the way they can even take your license.
All of which are just improper and illegal. So you see,
exactly.
the way the laws are written, it looks like they are not writing these laws with the assistance of the whatever legal department. And again, like I say, every time they write a law, they will take into account constitutional protections that people have a right to contest the issuance of anything. Because, for example, a police officer, because since now, because the seatbelt has to do with vehicles such as automobiles or motorcar.
Yeah. Yeah.
So a motorcar can pass an officer. He might, most times now with a glance, the motorcar and they pass the officer and they glance them. He may not see you having a seatbelt. That doesn't mean it's accurate. You may have a seatbelt on. So just because he thinks there was no seatbelt doesn't mean you didn't have a seatbelt on. So you get a right for contest that. So why is it being given the power that he say, if I give you a spot fine, then at the same time, it's not clear whether if you contest that, if I clamp you motoka, or you are free to go. And then how do you get notified as to when to go to court? You know, there are so many things. So this, we have to put yourself in the minds and the situation of them, ordinary people, just ordinary people. You find your daily lives. And we all just, we don't see how police and they stop. The Okada driver can be stopped 10 times in one day. Okay. I mean, is this reasonable? Is it fair for him to be stopped? And sometimes we're police officers there, and I feel sorry for them. I'm not saying this with any insensitivity. I know why they are prompted into doing some of them things, because they're broke, they're hard up, the salary not enough. So I'm not saying any of this with some insensitivity, not care about the inadequacy of them pay. No, far from it. I'm only concerned that if we want safeguard, police, they need to be better trained, they need to be better paid, and the laws need to be better written. Okay, you just can't write laws without having any constitutional testing to see whether I can muster that if it goes to court. And lawyers and prosecutors them have to be trained to prosecute cases. And then every accusation, the burden is on the state. So that officer then I will say you are in violation of the helmet law, or you are in violation of the seatbelt law. The burden is on him to go to court and prove, and unless the lawyers then challenge them here, we are not going to see much improvement. So lawyers should come up with creative ideas. How forget them people here, the other person. And this will go to the lawyer, then your constitutional rights in many ways, as to how you enable people to pay. This is the reason why in this country we allow lawyers and for advertise. Well, there's nothing wrong with that. Because in fact, I think restricting lawyers from advertising is an encroachment on a constitutional right to earn a living. All of those things can be challenged in courts because, why can't I advertise my service where the give the public, where the person to give the same service? If I think, say, I get just as good a service, and if and I can do cheaply, efficiently, or reasonably, why shouldn't I have the power to let the public know that the service where they offer? I think it's an unreasonable restraint on one's ability to make money. So some of these ideas should be challenged in court. This because I think it's nonsense when they say lawyers not for advertise. Why? Doctors not for advertise. Why? I mean, now service then the render, and this is you try to reach the public. I don't see anything that will take away the dignity of the profession. I mean, the dignity of the profession will be intact. It doesn't lower the dignity of the profession in any way, shape, or form. It just allow you to let the public know the type, the quality, will involve the cost of the service we render. But you see, we're under all the old cliche there. We're not to try for improve with thinking. But the world is changing around us. So you can challenge the law on the 72-hour basis. That is not even reasonable to pay that. You can challenge the law on the basis on the unreasonableness of the law in terms of with a common practice in Australia. You can be stopped and held and challenged 2-3 times the same day for that same offense day. So what makes the difference is if you don't have to pay this money in 72 hours, let's say 4 officers then stop you, then give you the spot fine, you get ample time to challenge the law and allow that the other 2 or 3 be stricken. But if you're only given 72 hours for pay them fines in day, you don't get sufficient time for go see a lawyer, because if you want to go to a lawyer for challenge the issuance of that in day, well, the lawyer got some other things to do and may not be in a position to see you within 72 hours. So there are so many, and the laws have to take a lot of things into consideration. So the transportation department not get for just think in terms of this. They're not solving the problem. One thing that is helping Australia right now is because lawyers are not challenging the legality of some of their laws here. Because the lawyers and the challenging and they go to court, then cramp the court with so many cases. I mean, you see how difficult it will be to resolve the thing in there. So, but I strongly keep encouraging lawyers. There are constitutional violations in most of these laws within the past, but people don't want to think it's worth it. Come up with a new ways of people paying into some fund, or lawyers and for land forgive people installment payment plan, you know. But if you do installment payment plan, like I said, how is the public supposed to know when they say for advertise? You know, you see, that infringe on everybody's right. Yeah. The one the lawyers will still make money if not money not the motivation for them for going to the profession. Then go make money if not then sole means of livelihood down there. At the end of it all, then not choice, they exercise for be whatever they want for be in life. So, but we get this is a profession that deals with the rights of people. That's why it used to be called, or still being called, the noble profession, you know, because it deals with human rights, with civil rights, you know. We talk about the right to fair trial. Nobody safeguards that than a lawyer. That's why you're there. So with all in here, we get for be very mindful. So this law, where Mr. Mengot quote me, or quote we, there is a whole lot wrong with it if the lawyers are willing to challenge the law. But I don't see much courage in doing so. So this is going to go on. I know Parliament passed laws them that are clearly in violation of the Constitution. Nobody challenges it. You just let it go. And then ordinances there. I think you also make one mention about the bus system and the fuel situation, where the buses that were given to the local government for manage. Well, I think the local government should have just gone right back and give because government took upon itself to get a whole ministry of local government. Now you get the ministry of local government, and then when bosses then can't handle, you get the local government to do what with? Now when I take ownership of now when I usurp the city council and the district council and authority for whatever reason. There was no reason for it, but when I do it anyway for show power, we want to get one minister, we don't know nothing but governance, for be the overseer, go overrule the city council, the council of people, and the mayor elected by the people. Now explain to me how that's reasonable. Just for political reason, when I replace that with inefficiency. So when I give the government bosses them, but they not get the means to put fuel in them for serve the purpose of the general community. So there are lots wrong with, I just call attention to them thing there, because we are not doing things the right way, but we expect people to comply. So back to you, Mr. Mengo.
Yeah, I would just want to check if the control room's still there on, if you can check, because we need to go to the next part of the final part of this one. Control room, can you hear us, sir?
All right.
Mr. Shilon, it look like say we control room not there on.
There's one call. Let me see if we can get a call. Hello, caller. What's your name inside the call? Hello, caller. Hello, caller. Because the caller will not be able to come through without the control room. Hello, caller.
Mr. Shilon, are you able to send a message? Yeah, go ahead.
I'll try that.
Hello.
Maybe
send a message to the control room.
Yes. Mr.
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear. Go ahead.
We can hear you. Yeah.
Okay.
No, but not only that, we go want like they on follow play the video for the next segment.
Yeah, you get that covered.
Okay.
You get that covered.
All right, then go ahead, Mr. Yeah, go ahead. We can hear you.
Okay. I say like last week I've been trying for call, but they're not be able to pick up the call again. But not a problem. If they don't pick, I will start from there. Because first of all, I react to Mr. Kagbo in broadcast, in the way they make broadcast are not they live. Sorry about that. I'll come to the list one later. Mr. Kagbo never believed in the tripartite, and he talked again during last broadcast. I just want to say, if there is any chance for take away powers from the president, that document wouldn't make. Because if he talks to let them care go the Public Election Act, let them go amend them, the government will only go then put things, then they will go favor them. They will never do it. Because they don't get the opportunity for reform the constitution. They don't get 8 years, so they not do them. And we then can with them, we then can put in for give more powers to the president. We will not see the biggest problem with the Salone constitution are the powers of the president. So that document, now if the APC for them be serious from day one, we then don't sign this document here, so then push that was the biggest opportunity for letting them take away some powers from the president, because they don't sign up to that. Because when they talk about a constitution, the government is very comfortable, and I make an exclusion not touch him, but I be not saying for 8 years, I make not touch him. So I'm not saying you don't believe in that, but I just want to see, make you look at the other side. Say, where they out the bill in the parliament, Mr. Menko know that, then they can't put them on a simple majority. Anything we didn't count it, bad law, like the one we didn't count that Public Election Act, not simple majority. If they put them back in the parliament for 21 days, nobody no challenge them, it becomes law. These are the laws of Sierra Leone. So if you think, say, then they can go document and talk, say, oh, Lord, go review the Public Election Act, law, do this, law, do that. And if you think the government go put something, they go disadvantage them, or go make a fair contest, they're not going to do them. They have had the opportunity, they know they do them. So this year, where the non goes and this document, if them implement to the latter, that is the simplest way, they say the shortest way for letting take powers from the president. And that first point I want to make. I'll call back later because I'll listen.
Well, before Mr. Menke go on, let me just touch that. I think you are right in the sense that this is where a lot of times I wonder if APC is a viable opposition, if the APC is a viable opposition, in the sense that the end points here where you just raised, so these are points that should be raised by the opposition. I always point out, say the opposition just do a lot of things we really break or broke in spirit. Number one, they manage for joint SLPP or the BO government for muzzle the rest of the opposition parties then, which is a great disfavor to the country, you know, because they are so, the APC themselves so want power so bad that they rather not change some of them points they make, like how you, Mr. Mustafa, to talk. Because first of all, they write most of them lawyers. And then party write most of them law in the person of Dr. Abdullah Conte them and others. Okay? So now we see the difficulty way the causeway in terms of having vested too much power in the hands or invested too much power in the presidency. I'm saying presidency because we're not trying to target any particular president. It just happened that at the moment, President Bio, they enjoy, and the president, they enjoy the power. We're not to engage himself. Now waiting the previous government decide forgive the president. We are pointing how bad, but it looks like APCs themselves want that power. They're so bad, they don't want to change anything. Because they not even talk about that or suggest that or try to do away with some of them laws they always say, bad. These are bad laws. Okay? Too much power in the hands of the president. And to the point of putting some ridiculous, what I call nonsense into the constitution, that the president is a member of parliament. That is the most foolish, nonsensical thing I don't ever hear. How can the president be a member of parliament when he is head of one of the three co-equal branches of government? You know? It's like saying the chief justice is a member of parliament. How? Or it's like saying the speaker of the house is part of the executive. So, but this is not where educated people and what do this. To me, this is not basic, commonsensical thing. We're no bookman. You cannot study law. The president should not be a member of parliament, and the constitution says so. It's in the constitution that is part of parliament. How? It doesn't make sense. That's a conflict of interest. Then to make matters worse, when I say the president shall appoint the clerk of parliament. How? Why? It's like saying the president shall appoint the registrar of the court system. 99 job down there for appoint. Maybe that's the way it is. If so, it's bad law. These are administrative things that we for delegate to the chief justice and in group and your administration. So we get very bad laws in place. Okay, I always like to stop. We'll get some callers. So let me just answer that. Then we will move on. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you call from?
Yeah, hello, Mr.
Shilon.
Good evening, Mr. Miengot, Mr. Shilon. This
Yes,
is
sir.
the call from Melina.
Yeah, thank you for calling.
Yeah, I just want to go more on this transportation. Question deeper. Let us start with the WakaFine Bus. Since the inception of this WakaFine Bus, where we all know it's be 50 million grants with World Bank. I'm not going into the details again. And government may decide for buy 50 buses. And these 50 buses that for just free time where they fly from Calabar now onto Lumley. But the problem I get since the inception of this bus there, I may don't talk one but the price. This na public-private partnership because the bus na government get up. Initially, if you can recall 2 years when the thing starts, I'll tell you say me they go free time almost every year. And I begin calculate from Lumley to inside Freetown how much people then they pay. the initial price with that price with them put that $15. I say that €10. I say it's too much because not a profit making. Yes, when I don't say a public-private partnership in this part of the world where we get then semi-autonomous body, then they equate to again at the DMV area and United States, Washington, Virginia, and Maryland. We have get a metropolitan authority today. But you get for make the price so that you go alleviate people and suffering. The minimum wage now 800 now. You know, they're not start for pay. And even if the 1,200 way government say way for start April as they say, how many people then will begin get they would earn 1,200? Because Boku.
And let me be sure we say Leones, please. Leones.
Then Leos, 800 Leos. Now they say now 1,200 by April. The April 1st it will start. The new minimum wage. Now take the 800. Somebody, a family of 4 or 5. The 3 picking and they go school. The parent, the mama and papa, the mama they sell. How much then go able for pay in transportation from Lumley, say for Lumley, the picking and they go school at Prince of Wales or Edwards or Albert Academy, then meet school then at the central or even technical or girls school then side and day. The picking for go to and fro. You take them stay now one way the picking they go. Now 10 about what 10 5 go 5 come now 100 for the week for the picking no more. The 3 picking them. That's the all 3 now 100 apart from the lunch. Then the mama day instead they sell it they go sell. Salone say they can't sell now Congo cross area. Again for take that same public transport. So me don't say the initiative fine. But the thing is no way in operation for alleviating people. It rather exacerbates them. Because let the argument when Mr. Men got me, they say it's comfortable. That is not to excuse that. And I don't think saying until we for debate over because it's comfortable. No. Because therefore provide them for alleviate people and suffering. And when I think about the minimum wage, waiting the least salary with people in the hand, that country. Then they on our side. Let we come to the bus system where government provide. Yes, I go commend government when they start 2018 when they provide them bus there. But the problem is they not be thought out and good for give them to the local councils. Because up till now, the local councils then they complain, say, the upkeeping of them bus here, and for say the truth, the picking is still at 1,000 in the pay. Because even December, be the free town, I see where then they still a pay, at 1,000 in the pay, at the school buses here. But the problem is now the maintenance of them buses here. And waiting the bus then they get monthly for pay the driver and service the bus. So now that's not the problem, big problem with the local council and the face. So the only remedy for that, me not say let government take them from the local council, but government will subsidize the local council them. Because not the boss they're not a profit making for them picking and the boss rather than for allow the picking and for go school on time, reach for school, go school on time. Because I didn't have free talk, I they see picking and they didn't street. Sometimes they take 9 o'clock. And sometimes the classes they not start. And most of the time now the core subject and they can start with the morning. The math, the English, the geography or whatever, the core subjects, then the picking don't miss them. Sometimes picking they as far as Calabaton or Allenton for can school. So now that's not my problem. And my third problem where I get now with the oil companies, the oil companies them now tongue. Then but are they always they blame government because government don't give them too much leeway for the increase in price. Yes, granted, like what Mr. Mengot say, now 3 months stock now we forget. But they always they increase even when world market price not increase. So this so then get that uncheckered uncheckered control over prices of the gasoline at all. So much so that people in the strain and governments they fail for realize say any increase in petrol they get a rippling effect on everything in that country. And salaries they stand still. And when I'm in the free talk, there was a price increase in December. Because you see there the lines where there's only long. Then another price increase don't arise again. About 2 9 don't cancel now. When I return January then now. So you see, in the space of 3 months now, 3 price increase. So it all gets rippling effect on everything in the country. When people want to transport their goods now from the province for Camp Free or Kana and the big town, the price do almost double. And Salone not to them 1% increase the transportation owners and they put not to them 1% or 2%, it's a minimum. Always at 10, 15, 20%. Then the earning of people not. So these are some of the things that we the city governments know they in the interest of people. So I'll just say for now make this contribution as so far. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. That's the reason why I could give Mr. Mengo I will give Mr. Mengo just give me 1 minute. That's the reason why the prior caller, first of all, before this caller, where you say the best thing, if the government was well-intentioned, I mean, if the people, and I say the opposition, the tripartite agreement with and signed, and then for all the government for stick with, so the power we curtail some of the power we invested or vested in the presidency can be curtailed. Instead of going to parliament, as Mr. Mustafa said, we then would simply just do this simple majority and then come up with this ridiculous law, which is to me is just so disingenuous. For say, if the thing sits, if it is proposed, it is laid, on the floor of parliament, after 20 days, no opposition, it becomes the law. But if there's an opposition, then the burden shifts. That the people who are against the law and if we come up with 2/3 majority. Well, why wasn't 2/3 majority necessary to pass the law? If we care about the country, if it's not a trick, they not take things seriously. Why do not say forget 2/3 majority for pass the law? And then if you oppose them, then even if you say, well, if we're able to garner a 2/3 majority for override that failure, I can understand that. But no, they're not balanceable. They say simple majority going in, 2/3 majority opposing. So this is the disingenuousness of people. They are not serious. They're not committed to the cause. They're not committed to fairness. They're not committed to progress. It's just a matter of common politics, not even sophisticated politics. So Mr. Mustafa, in my view, was right. And APC, when at the leading opposition, wait for put some thought process into this whole thing, they're just going right along because they are so anxious to come to power. They're no one for change. Any of them bad laws, they're all the change because then someone use them to their advantage. And this is the sad part about the whole thing, because they're not raising all the issues here at all. Now, this WakaFine thing with this man, what the caller just talked about, To me, I don't even agree with school children paying $1,000. I mean, 1,000 leones, because if it be free, the WakaFine bus or the school buses for be free, enough for cost and student a dime. And with the general public, I tend to agree with him also that the bus system, since government put a penny on the bus, a gift, that bus system, this should be highly subsidized so people can pay almost, because generally speaking, trains, public transportation, government anywhere in the world, not the operation for profit. Now for the convenience of the people, so it should be highly subsidized. So I'm inclined to agree with this guy, which the gentleman we just called, for say, enough for cost the people, not to what go make sense, because enough for be for profit. And I do question the nature of the government-private partnership, because how is it a partnership? It costs the government nothing. You know, it's a gift to the government. Why did the government come up with some other way? If the American government-private partnership, then the government can take ownership of just fuel or certain things for get some investment in the thing, or for allow people and for invest. But they just raise the thing. They're not thinking in terms of the people, the economy, or the economic situation. Then just simply say, well, we'll delay prices without regard to statistical evidence showing that people can even afford that. I mean, it might sound like good policy, but I'm inclined to agree with the gentleman that the fare from the day one was high. And then when then increases here come about, enough for impact government transportation, like train, like buses, all engineer, because they are not supposed to be for profit basis. That when the government get in here, the government for subsidize it, so if now private people and getting businesses here, now government for pay the difference for make it be profitable. First of all, government need for remove themselves from all the services here. You know, let private side and handle them, then subsidize them for make things work for everybody. But that's my humble opinion. Mr. Mengot is an expert. He may disagree with it, but I think this is a vicious cycle. We'll keep going round and round and round, because we will not try to solve problem. You know, and the opposition, they're not to come up with any practical aspect from the law to everything. And just like Mr. Mustafa talked about, they want the power so bad, they want them defective laws here for stay in place. First of all, and then put them in place, then they want them. And second of all, I cannot understand why are they so satisfied with the smaller opposition parties being eaten up. How is that good for Sierra Leone? I would like the big name politicians then for tell we how. Back to you, Mr. Mengot.
Okay, sir. Let us start first and make some clarification to Mr. Mustafa, what he say, and how the different laws and in a parliament. We get three different forms of laws then. The first one, now the constitution, when I know the primary law. And any amendment of the constitution or any clause in that constitution, they now require 2/3 majority during the first, the second, and third reading. Because the first reading, the introduction of the amendment. The second reading, now a debate before we then get 2/3 majority before it go to committee stage, then the third reading. Now, when it comes to ordinary bills, acts of parliament, bills where they become acts of parliament, which I will call secondary legislation, they one and they self get the same process. You get first reading, second reading, third reading, debates, committee stage. Now, they one and they need simple majority. Statutory instruments, nine are the one way, it's also a secondary legislation, but now for specific purposes then. Like where you get state of emergency, where you get something for do it, like where they want to do census, and then they one and they, that statutory instrument, they you also get constitutional statutory instrument. Now they one and the way it puts in a parliament, where the opposition forget 2/3 majority, or else if it did on the table of Parliament, it becomes law after 21 days. So it's not a case of one size fits all. Now let's come to public transport. Huh?
Well, Mr. Mustafa is aware of what you just talked. So he's simply saying when it goes back to Parliament, knowing that the law is just going to be a simple majority, it's a waste of time because the opposition get the opportunity now for force the government to just stick with the tripartite agreement instead of going back to Parliament. Because there's an agreement. They know one for all them fit. Then they go back to Parliament where they know saying that simple majority and supposed to forget. What will be easy forget. I think that's what Mr. Mustafa.
No.
Okay, Mr. Mustafa, if you're listening, please call us back. Okay, well, go ahead.
Yes. I mean, because, okay, let's leave that, although that is not to the main topic, but we'll go get for discuss that probably next one, we'll monitor. Now, when it comes to public transport, right, the whole problem is the WakaFine arrangement, not a public-private partnership. It was never a public-private partnership.
Oh, so what is it?
Okay. What happened was that before the reform, the government was both a regulator and an operator. And will not get any formal system of public transport, no properly managed public transport system. So what happened, part of the reform, now for create the Salone Public Transport Authority when at the regulator. Then come up with an innovative private sector model when a metro transport company wait for Wakafine. Who side the problem come? Now because government now decide for change and become both an operator and a regulator. Because they went and amended the law. That's where the problem lies. And also, as you say, not so government provide the money for the buses. There were conditions and things that government get for put in place and for support the operation of them buses then they under a private operator. That was exactly what was not done. That was what was not done. The government, in the form of the Public Transport Authority, now decide for say, okay, let we micromanage the process. So there was not clear distinction between government in role as a regulator or as an operator. Because they now come and control everything, control revenue, and start dictating everything. So that is the issue. So we don't come up to with time, but still, if the control room can come, one still I want to touch on. Now, the issue of again some of the problems of the WakaFine operation, we deal with traffic management. But if we're able to do it, we can do it next week. But then let's look at the law side where we undo. I don't know what's your view on that.
Well, yes, sir, we can proceed.
Are we going to proceed on the law?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because you have a video to that effect, right?
Not on the law. The video I will get to that effect now on the WakaFine.
Okay. I'll proceed on the law.
Okay. Now, we don't hear beaucoup chamot on this law business. And almost a year ago, we get very good things then for present na Salone. We always get documents, good policy, but we not stick to them. Because we've been get in 2004, the Sierra Leone Justice Sector Reform Strategy, which is 2004 to 2030. And that justice sector reform strategy there. Now for make sure say justice is administered in a proper manner without any discrimination and give access to citizenship rights, human rights, and also we don't see report where there's a lot of people them when they charge some of them for traffic offenses, when they actually go put them a remand unnecessarily. So they crowd the correctional center. So what's another strategy where they take? Number one, then they talk about the structure and the institutions. It means that citizens are able to understand how the judiciary they work. If we're able to provide the law fair and fair, then you forget public information and access to justice. Then talk about legal aid expanded. They want legal aid, we get advocate. Then they talk about the ombudsman as well, where the police complaints board. So we have all them boku agencies here. But people yet still they complain. So one of the things the way one Rob Motspan, now a case where the trend in social media, there is this lady called Kadiatu Kamara. Where the first reports will been come, they say this lady go to a restaurant, he order food and drink, he not pay. Then Kenya and go CID. She was taken to prison on remand. She was there for 11 months and then appear to High Court. So the High Court judge free him on spent time. But then we get another version where advocate come out saying that they deal with the case. They say not to so it be. They say then charge the lady under the 1916, I think, Lasini Act. Say he enter the premises, go take their food, then a fridge and drinks. Then he appear before magistrate court. After a while, they can go to the High Court. The case go to High Court. Now High Court now free on spend time. So it come back to this issue of transparency and accountability and how they deal with that minor offense here. Whether a case for day up to that time for such an offense, or whether if for then at the High Court. So I go and let you up much for 9 days small. Are we still being served by the judiciary? Is there been any reform? So what thing are you take on this out?
Well, there's a host of problems with justice system. And unfortunately, the poor man, they get the wrong deal, a raw deal on the situation here. Not too long ago, 2-3 years ago, if that far back, the Commonwealth, they just say we have problems with prisons are full of people who are not being dealt with fairly, who've been held indefinitely, who've spent years awaiting trial, now in detention. And there have even been cases of people who are kept in holding cells that do not even have electricity, so they are sitting down there in darkness. So why we go treat with people in that way, they are not understand, you know? And most of these people, now the least fortunate among us. So the law not get any regard for them. Now with this Kadea to Kuruma or Kamara in situation, regardless of what the facts are, to the extent that they vary from which the two narratives that Mr. Mango does give. First of all, I am not sure whether she was charged with common theft, with larceny, or she was charged with breaking and entering, or she was charged with just breaking, or she was just charged with, like I said, theft. But the long and short of it is, regardless of how she entered the building, if in fact that's what happened, because some gentleman called, they try to explain where the explanation don't make much sense. For try to correct the record. I don't think he correct the record the way he should. I think he just muzzled the record. But look at it in the light most favorable to the government. Let's assume that this woman entered a house or a building, and all she took was food and drink. Is it worth the government's time for that case for reach high court? Doesn't the high court have anything better to do than for such a case to be sent up there? Waste of time, waste of funds, waste of everything. Was it reasonable to charge her or to detain her? Let's assume, saying the light most favorable to the government are true. The woman, I think the breaking when they talk about now, technical breaking, maybe he entered the building without permission. I'm almost certain she didn't break anything. Okay, but he probably entered the building without permission and then take food, because that is indisputable. That all she took, because the intention was for burglarize the place, she will not be going for food, a fridge. It will go for expensive things that will get money. But let's say somebody which influenced them to get a place there, maybe was upset with the woman. I cannot imagine that if that person did not get a soul. If somebody can use, if all them check, enter your building, all them check now food, now your fridge and this and that, can't you see that this person is really struggling? Is that a justification for call police? Now the system itself is terrible in the sense that by what stretch of fairness and justice would any magistrate see fit for detain such a person? Would any magistrate see fit not to have allowed the person to be released on bond or bail? Now that person cannot be bailed out. I mean, what's wrong with common human decency? And then for putting a detention, and such an offense doesn't call for detention at all. That woman should not have been detained more than 30 minutes to an hour and just tell and say, hey, appear in a court. 11 months she was kept there for taking some food in a fridge and drinking. And if people like us don't see something wrong with that and don't call it out, shame on us. And shame on the legal profession. And shame on the judicial system in that country there. It's cruel. It's unconscionable. I mean, it's shameful for that young woman to be deprived 11 months. But then we'll go further. The gentleman who called, I will make a video. Wasn't he concerned? This woman said she was assaulted while being detained. Has anybody taken up time for find out how was she assaulted? Taking into account the woman, is she talking about sexual assault? In fact, she used the word torture. And if in fact she was tortured, in this day and age, the word torture should concern any government. Will anybody, man or woman, say he was tortured in detention, that should be immediately looked into. Has anyone taken upon themselves for looking into that? This woman says she was tortured. She may have meant abused. She may have meant assaulted. Then the judge, the magistrate who kept her in jail, the fact of the matter is they say this woman has at least a child. Did anyone care what happened to that young 2-year-old child and say it be get for taking food and drink? You could deprive that child of access, and nutrition from a mama. So what kind of people are running the system, the judicial system? We not get a soul. We go do such cruelty to a fellow human being. And somebody having the nerve to come and start saying, oh, let's correct the record. How are you correcting the record? Can't you see the evil-naturedness of such a thing? So it is wrong at every level in almost every country that I know. Except some of at certain countries, I don't want to mention them. Such a thing would not have even led to any criminal charges at all. And where he take that food, they will have just said to her, "No ever can I again." Okay? And a decent-minded person will have given her more food for take home. For say, if that's what your problem is, here, you know? So, for the case for which I think it's just absolute ridiculousness and idleness for such a case for reaching a high court. Now, I give the high court judge credit. Apparently, I don't want to second guess him, but he looks into the whole affair and might have seen the injustice there and give the woman, which we will call in America, credit for time served and release him immediately. And the gentleman who called for correct the record say, "Oh, he not toxic and release her immediately." She should be proud of being kept away for 22 months for a simple misdemeanor, if at all it amounted to a crime, you know. And then we get for train the lawyers and back better than that. You don't get a client like that and allow him for then a jail for 22 months. We get picking, you know. And you don't get a client like that where he tell you sit and torture him, you know, pursue that for see what happened. Did someone sexually abuse her? So for me, these are some of the issues that I want to raise about that incident there. You know, I think it cast the government in the bad light. It cast the judicial system in the bad light, deservingly so. Then deserve that. Because such a person should have never, ever spent a day in jail. But would you see where the police get the power for detaining even respectable citizens because you said something negative about the looks of the president or call the president name and they detain you? I mean, deny you bail. I mean, is this a country we really want? And then we'll say we get an opposition, they say they want kind of power. They're not they announce, they're not they pronounce, they're not they condemn them things. What would they condemn? We're not that them for they do, for make people and feel say then will be better than the government within a power now. You know? So, I mean, it's a whole lot wrong. So we're not talking only about this government. And I've always defended this government to the extent that a lot of the bad laws, a lot of the practices from the presidency, not because of the way APC write the law. So we get all them by Salone standard heavyweight lawyer in Sierra Leone, and no one for name the law, the name we belong to the APC party. What are they doing? You know? What are they doing? Why go along with SLPP and the current government for muzzle the smaller political parties them? You know? Why go along with the government willing to claim say they don't satisfy 80% of the tripartite suggested agreement? Why, when in fact and in truth, most of that, you know, has not been done. Because the anxiety for come back to power, they rather let the system just stays the same. So when they get a power, then we just take off who's the other one left off. And then they undermine themselves because the party in power is digging in too. They don't want to go out of power. And we already help them by not challenging them and bringing some of them things into the open. So when the judiciary treat this woman, this ordinary woman, in cause should have been a cause célèbre for bring her to the forefront and talk about the defectiveness of the judicial system. So there are many other things I could say about what happened to that young lady today, but I think it's a poor reflection on the judicial system. It shows we not really make effort for carry out justice. We put people in a jail, we will not get money for feed them. They work for to keep people out of jail. Then they go put people in a jail for traffic offenses will not make any sense. You know, most traffic offenses shouldn't lead to detention. I think the government was better off if they fine you, like this so-called sport fine. Government might profit a whole lot more from that than go lock you up, then get for spend money for feed you, you know. And so it's just terrible. It's just terrible. People like me, as an attorney, as a lawyer, we represent criminal defendants. Them, it hurts me to my soul for there is a woman just for food and drink, you know, They now accuse and say it takes such a quantity for which with the intent to sell. And he spent 11 months in a jail. Shame on the system. That's all I have to say for that, Mr. Mengot. Mr. Mengot?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. Well, Fambulem, I don't get much for say on this now, because we know say we don't actually stay on for quite some time now. We go continue for look at issues for deal with justice, and also one trendy topic we're still there on. Now this issue of the stalemate between the government and the opposition, where one of the caller mentioned the issue to do with the tripartite, and also constitutional law review, where we will hopefully try to deal with that and updating her and try to let people know the process, because this is the hinge on the governance system and it's very critical, because people then they worried about the day-to-day living. But what we need is a stable government, a clear playing field, and people that we get respect for humanity and empathy for the people, and we're able to present themselves, so we'll choose the right people then for govern we come the next election. With that, I got to say thank you very much to listeners, them as always, for letting a day with we. From this part of the world, in Surrey, I say tata until we meet next week.
Good night to everyone. We'll see you next week.